Three military officers and a police officer are receiving treatment at the Presbyterian Hospital at Agogo in the Ashanti region after armed nomadic herdsmen ambushed and opened fire on them. The officers, who are members of the Operation Cowled team, are said to have been shot from behind after they responded to a distress call from a farmer over the destruction of a farm by the cattle. Insure FM's Ohiming Tia joins me over the telephone with more. Hello, Ohiming. Now, what can we say about the condition of these injured security operatives? All right, Ohiming, we can barely hear you. You'd have to speak up a little bit more, but I want to know if you can tell us about the condition of these injured security operatives.
Yes, Israel. What I am saying is that the three police officers, the three military officers and the police officer are still receiving treatment. And according to hospital sources, they are responding to treatment. But before we came on there a few minutes ago, I had information that one of the military officers was rushed to the theater to have a surgery, but the doctors will not see details of what actually they have been doing, except to say that the four men are responding to treatment. A while ago, I also had a conversation with the Konongo Divisional Commander, Chief Superintendent Ohine Body Bosman, who did indicate that the men are responding to treatment, so there's no cause for alarm. And the medical officers at the Presbyterian Hospital are doing their best to treat them as much as they can. The unfortunate incident is that these officers were shot from behind. The armed herdsmen had ambushed them. They went to the farm on the invitation of a woman. I'm told 3 days ago, there were reports lodged by this woman indicating that her farm was under attack by a cattle belonging to the herdsmen. So today, at Tribos, when the military and police team were on patrol, they take another complaint for the woman that the cattle were in the farm. So they decided to proceed to the scene. And when they went there, as they were trying to drive the cattle away, that is when the nomadic herdsmen started firing shots at them. So the shots hit their back. That is what the police say. So they were rushed to the Agogo Surgery Hospital to receive further treatment. Israel.
Now, Ohiming, how did we come to the conclusion that this attack or the policemen, the police officers, were fired upon by the armed nomadic herdsmen?
Yes, according to the police, after the attack, after the men had been shot, the police officers and then the military officers saw the nomadic herdsmen running away from the same direction where the shots were fired. So the indication is that the shots were fired by nomadic herdsmen, especially when it came from the direction where the cattle were, and they are come to conclusion that it was indeed fired by the nomadic herdsmen.
Now, was it the case that there was exchange of gunfire, or there was just a clear ambush and they fired on them and they fled?
That is what I've been trying to establish from the police, especially taking into consideration that the incident happened far away from Agogo, actually also closer to Ananikum. They are all suburbs of Agogo. But the police will not tell me whether the military and then the police officers also responded with fire shots. But they say that the police and the military officers came under attack. The attack came at a time that they were not even expecting it. So that is another subject, another area that we need to explore, whether or not the military officers also responded to the shots fired by the armed herdsmen.
Ohiming, do we know if there is any operation at all to try and nab these people, these nomadic herdsmen who engaged in this ambush?
It's right after the documentary Violent Surface, that's taken into consideration the activities of nomadic herdsmen and farmer classes in Agogo and other parts of the country. the police and military team were already there to clamp down on the activities of these nomadic herdsmen. So they have been in Agogo and other areas since we came out with a documentary. So just a few days ago, the traditional authorities, with the support of the district assembly, also gave the nomadic herdsmen for 7 days ultimatum to leave the area. So the military and the police team have been operating in Agogo for quite some time now. Don't forget, Operation Carleg was introduced by the then government, President Mr. Akufo-Addo. So they have been in operation. But as to whether another attack or another operation has been launched to arrest the nomadic herdsmen who fired on the military and the police, for that one, I'm not quite sure. But what I do know is that police say they will continue with their normal operations in Agogo and its environment.
All right, thank you very much, Ohiming, bringing that update on the situation at Agogo in the Ashanti region. In some other news, a special task force formed by the Small Scale Miners Association to assist government in the fight against illegal mining over the weekend arrested 11 persons said to be engaged in illegal mining. The suspects were arrested with assistance from the Upper Dintra Municipal Police Command whilst mining in the River Feng. Municipal Police Commander Superintendent Dela Jansi told journalists the suspects were mining with dredge boats on the river. Prince Apia reports.
The suspects were picked up in separate operations within a stretch of the Ofen River in the Dunkwao area. Upper Dintra East Municipal Police Commander Superintendent Dela Jansi told the media alleged culprits were using dredge boats on the river.
Over the past 72 hours, the National Task Force of the Small Scale Miners Association, which mostly from all the mining areas, came together in collaboration with the police and mounted an operation on the Ofen River. And these 11 young men were arrested mining with dredge boats on the river. So far, they've been arrested, and we are going to proceed with them to Cape Coast for prosecution. That's what I have to say. But I must say that it's been a very difficult task for both the task force and the police, because as soon as you leave the place, they are back there. A group of them will go back, and it's been a very difficult task fighting these people on the distance. I would suggest also which that the government will come out with forces that will also augment the strength of the task force so that together we can fight the menace.
Bracey Ando is the commander of the Small Scale Miners Task Force.
First of all, we thank the government and the police in Dunkwao here. In fact, they have been helping us successfully. But our problem now is we don't have good vehicles to chase these people. So we are pleading to the government that it should come to our aid so that they can help us at least with about 4 or 5 vehicles so that we can be able to achieve what we want to achieve. Because these illegal miners, to arrest them is not easy.
The suspects have since been sent to Cape Coast for prosecution. The Ghana National Association of Small Scale Miners wants government to impose more severe punishment against defiant persons. Kwabna Boache is Public Relations Officer.
Yes, we would want to send a petition to the various stakeholders involved because it's very, very disheartening. We've received a lot of news from the various districts that we've effected arrest, and it seems that the punishments are not that stiff. So they come back and then go back to the various river bodies and still pollute them. So it's more like we are working in vain. So we would plead to the government that since the government is supporting us, they should also help and then stiffen the punishment of these illegal miners in order to deter others from polluting the river bodies.
Prince Apia reporting.
Now, what began as a regular commute from Takrady to Accra on Monday at 2 a.m. turned into a near-death experience for journalist Joseph Apia Dolphine. Some 3 hours into his journey, Joseph had a loaded rifle pointed at him as armed robbers attacked his vehicle along with about 6 others, including commercial vehicles near Gomwa Potsing in the central region. He managed to escape unhurt, but his mobile phone and 1,300 Ghana cedis were taken away from him. Joining us, Daniel Dazi spoke to Joseph a few hours after the incident.
For Joseph, the 4-hour drive from Takoradi to Accra is a weekly ritual. He is among hundreds of Ghanaians who commute between the two towns regularly.
I have my family there. My wife and children are there, so almost every weekend I go back home.
On Monday, however, the story was different. He came face to face with what most people dread, an encounter with armed robbers.
I left Takoradi around 11:35, so all the way to Winneba Junction. After Winneba Junction, I got to a place called Gomwa Potsing, and then someone was flashing the torchlight, so I thought it was the police. So I slowed down. Then I found out that they had blocked the road with a covert, like 3 of them. The main road, they blocked the main road with 3 coverts. So I just slowed down, and then out of nowhere, 3 other guys came from the bush, ordered me to get out of the car. So I just stopped the car, and then I got off the car. I was ordered to lie down on the floor. I lied down, and then they started searching me for money and things like that.
Joseph was not the only victim. He tells Joy News more than 5 cars were stopped, including commercial vehicles, and passengers were subjected to similar treatment. Central Regional Police PRO ASP Irene Opong confirmed the incident and told Joy News the robbers shot 1 person.
We had a report around the same time, 2 a.m., that from policemen who were on road duty, that they observed that for about 10 to 20 minutes, there was no car coming from the opposite direction. So they became suspicious and just stopped, took a car and proceeded ahead to see what was happening. At that particular time, when they got to the scene, they saw that the robbers ran into the bush and they couldn't arrest anybody. However, 1 passenger or a driver got hurt. He was shot by the robbers. So he was taken to the Winneba Trauma Hospital, who is now on admission with receiving treatment.
In the run-up to the Christmas and New Year festivities, the police deployed 14,200 extra personnel to beef up the security situation in the country. However, as the festivities draw to an end and the regular working schedule of many Ghanaians resume, it is clear that with incidents like this, the police still have their work cut out for them.
2 weeks before we entered the Christmas festivities, that was on December 9th or so, we spelled out to the public through a media brief to identify some of the soft targets where crimes happen. That is on our highways, at entertainment and busy market areas, at residential areas, and also at some vital installations were also targeted. And the feedback we got from the public was that it was relatively successful, even though there were few cases of robbery, highway, but in all, if you put all together, you would come out to say, we can say that yes, our strategies did work well.
Reporting for Joy News, I'm Daniel Dazi.
You're watching Joy News Prime. Still ahead in the bulletin. Wife of Lebanese national accused of raping his 19-year-old house help wails in court over the continued detention of the husband. Accra Metropolitan Assembly on Monday embarked on a planned decongestion exercise to rid the street of orchids, which many say would come to naught, but the mayor insists he will ensure the exercise is sustained this time around. The exercise saw the team clash with some drivers.
Yeah, it's a lorry back. If you can see, they will take it, they will take a big truck. Come on, this load. From morning out to the evening. No car to no.
And there was a live fight right there on camera. We have that coming up later in the bulletin. Stay tuned. Wife of of the Lebanese national accused of raping his 19-year-old house help Monday broke down in tears at an Accra High Court after the court adjourned the bail application hearing due to the absence of state attorneys handling the case. Lawyers for the suspect, Haddad Rabi, have since December been trying to get their client bail after he was picked up for the crime. Joseph Akable reports the state attorney handling the case was said to have been unwell and so could not make it to court.
The visibly unhappy wife could be seen outside the courtroom in tears. She had shouted in court, quote, "So if she is unwell tomorrow too, same thing will happen," unquote. This was after former Attorney General Mariata Briapie-Opong, who is watching brief for the house help, told the court she had been informed the attorney handling the case was unwell. Lead counsel for the Lebanese Ralph Opokwedu said registered his displeasure at the turn of events. He argued his client under the law was entitled to bail and that the application could be heard with or without the presence of the state attorney. He added that the presence of the former AG was enough representation to enable the case to proceed. Lawyer Dusai stated, quote, "They have been evicted from their home and thrown to the street. The one who needs to provide for them is being kept in custody. This is the case where the charge doesn't even support the facts, yet they are keeping him in custody," unquote. Justice Justin Kofi Dogu adjourned hearing to January 9 for the application for bail to be moved.
The minority in Parliament is demanding an end to the sale of recruitment forms by various security agencies, describing it as fraud. Concerns have been raised about the Ghana Immigration Service selling more than 80,000 forms at 50 cities for an exercise that sought to recruit only 500 officers. Deputy Minority Spokesperson on Employment, Richard Kwashiga, says Parliament approved funding for such activities, and so the security agencies have no business charging applicants.
These young people are being ripped off, and it ought not to be so. First of all, when people write applications for employment, they are not asked to pay anything for it. So what are these monies being collected, being used for? We do not think that unemployment must be an avenue for some other agencies to cash in and defraud young, desperate, vulnerable young men and women of this country. That is grossly unfair.
But usually universities charge admission fees. They've been charging the security services have been charging these amounts for God knows how many years now. It happens every other time. What has changed for her to think it's a bad idea now?
You could put these questions across. But then again, what we must also bear in mind is that budgets annually are given to these security services.
For recruitment?
Their budgets will obviously include goods and services, administrative purposes, and etc. And when you are recruiting people into the service, I mean, clearly, it's largely administrative. So how much was voted for them to carry out these administrative activities? If in the past we hadn't talked about it, or we had all slept on this matter, obviously, when there's consciousness to raise it, then we must raise it. Because we did not raise it in the past, that's not mean that we should not raise it now. And I think that it's wrong. I think that it's obscene. I think that it is illegitimate. And especially when monies have been collected previously from these young people, and 2 years on, some monies have been collected. What did they use the monies they collected previously, 100 Ghana per applicant, for? What did have they accounted for it? I think that yes, if it's recruitment, they need to fill forms online. These things should be free.
Elsewhere, Minority Leader and Member of Parliament for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, has challenged government's claims that it has allocated seed money of $50 million to the Zongo Development Fund. It said contrary to the claims, allocations contained in the 2017 and 2018 budget statements came to just about 100 million cedis, the equivalent of about $22 million. Inaugurating an electrification project for the Dalingbila community in the Tamale South constituency in the northern region, the Minority Leader described the claim as deceptive. Joy News' Hashmin Mohammed has the rest of the story.
The inauguration of the electrification project in Dalembla, a farming community in the Tamale South constituency, by the minority leader Haruna Idrisu brings the electricity coverage in the constituency to 99.5%, leaving one more community in the area to be connected to the national grid. This is in fulfillment of his promise to ensure all communities in his constituency are connected to the national grid. Addressing the chiefs and people of the area, the minority leader accused the government of failing to provide a seed money of $50 million for the Zongo Development Fund.
Zongo Development Fund, and you can reference the budget of 2017. The pledge was seed money of $50 million, calculated at the Mahmoud Bawumia Vice President exchange rate of 4.2%, not 4.5 or 4.7, works out to some 219 million Ghana cedis. The whole budget between 2017 and 2018 for Zongo Development is 100 million. So President Akufo-Addo, honor your word. This is deceptive if you see that you are setting up seed money. No seed money have been provided for Zongo Development Fund. Neither was it provided for in the legislation. Indeed, they have even introduced the bill with an earmarked resource of up to 2%. They fought against it because there is no commitment to allow it to have sustainable and adequate financing.
The Tamale South legislator also spoke about the Special Prosecutor Act and the Office of the Special Prosecutor, saying the greatest threat to the success of the two remains a political bias, whether or not the person appointed to the office will exercise justice in a manner which is impartial.
To the success of the Special Prosecutor Act and the Office of the Special Prosecutor remains political bias, whether or not the person appointed to that office will exercise justice in a manner which is impartial, which is a requirement of the law. If it's used only as an instrument to check the past, it will become an instrument for witch hunting. If it does not focus on the present issues, then it will fail as an impartial watchdog to combat corruption.
People of Dalembla, the inauguration of the electricity in their community meant a lot to them, and they expressed their gratitude dancing to the trombone beats of the gongo.
We're bringing you business news after a brief break, but still in the bulletin, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has embarked on the planned decongestion exercise to rid the streets of hawkers, which many say would come to naught, but the mayor insists he will ensure the exercise is sustained this time round.
I have made reference to the road traffic regulations several times. I have made mention also to the AMA bylaws also several times. We are creating a new order of discipline and want to make sure that we implement it to the letter.
And then there was also that fight.
There is a lorry back. If you can see, they will take it to a big truck. Come on, this road. From morning out to the evening. No car to no car.
It comes up later on in the bulletin. Stay tuned. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly on Monday went ahead with its planned decongestion exercise and, for the first time in a while, succeeded in allowing free flow of traffic through the central business district. The operation was action-packed, with the task force clashing with some drivers at some point. There have been pessimists who believe the exercise would eventually fizzle out, as similar attempts in the past. But the mayor of Accra, J. Soa, insists he is bent on seeing it through this time. Joy News' Nancy Fajradozi went along for the exercise and reports.
The exercise, which began in the central business district of Accra, was carried out by a ruthless AMA task force, which ensured it cleared up after the hawkers, most of whom fled, leaving behind their wares. Accra Mayor J. Soa had inherited the red line his predecessor, Alfred Okuvandapoy, drew beyond which the traders could not sell, and has added his own line, this time yellow. He explains why the yellow line.
In fact, we've changed the red line to yellow line because we realized that the women were smart enough to have also ruled their own red lines. So when we went onto the vote, we used a yellow line, and that's what exposed a lot of them.
2 members of the task force lost their jobs right there on the street for failing reneging on their duties.
For non-enforcing the law, you are fired today, period, right?
Under this new order, all vehicles offloading goods in the market can only do so between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m.
That is a new rule. We haven't said you shouldn't come and offload your goods, but come and do so in the evening between 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. so that you allow people to come and do their business.
At their flower station near Kinbu, a tomato seller pleaded with the mayor for more time to relocate. Shortly after the plea, the task force clashed with some drivers at the station who were unhappy with the way they were going about the exercise.
There is a lorry back. If you can see, they will take it to a big truck. Come on, this load. From morning out to the evening.
We could not wait to see how the fight ended as the team moved on to the Kwame Nkrumah circle for more action. A police station at the circle interchange that had been overtaken by hawkers and unauthorized structures was rescued by the mayor and his team.
Deployed men to support us, but we are fortunate that we have a station police here. You should let your presence be felt. We shouldn't just allow people to come and report theft cases before we respond. We want to be very proactive. We are creating a new order of discipline within the city.
At the railway line in Accra, near Jaisowa, vowed to on Thursday demolish all structures situated there.
I mean, that is all done. I'm sure you've seen it with your own naked eyes that it's become a hideout for criminals, a hideout for prostitutes, a hideout for people that do all kinds of bad things. Interestingly, they have all connected to electricity, and they are doing all kinds of bad things over there. It's part of our citywide plan to ensure discipline and conformity of our building regulations as well. I've told them on Thursday we are clearing this place.
At the end of the exercise, our checks revealed that already some AMA task force had been stationed at other areas. Nancy Emefajiradosi, Joy News.
The Ghana Health Service is set to roll out compulsory health screening programs for all first-year students in senior high schools. At least 450,000 students nationwide will undergo eye, hearing, psychological and general examination, and the exercise which has already begun in the Western region. Director General Dr. Anthony Nsiasare says the initiative is part of health planning and promotion in second cycle institutions. Ohim Interior reports.
2 mobile digital X-ray machines have already been procured for the program. It follows sporadic cases of meningitis and H1N1, resulting in death in schools in Ashanti, Bono Ahafo, Central, Eastern and Northern regions. Ghana Health and Education Services are currently engaging each other on proposed budget for the health screening. Dr. Anthony Nsiasare says the Ghana Health Service Disease Control Unit will be deployed to work with special teams on sanitation in schools. The objective is to detect and treat diseases among students early, whilst building a database of their health needs.
So if you do it, first year, you know everybody's condition. You know you are HB, you know that you are not a sickler or you are a sickler, you know maybe you are a pre-diabetic or you are diabetic or you are not a diabetic, you know you are obese or you are underweight or you are anemic or this thing. There is a database that Mensa on this date was examined. He's a pre-diabetic. And then quickly we let our dietitians and everybody come to teach you what to do. We will then be collaborating with the matrons in the school to make sure the food that they are eating is nutritious. We'll bring in our disease control people and also environmental people to make sure to look at the environment of the school. There are some of the schools where their sanitation system is so poor. So if it is like that, we as health professionals, we have to do that. They have school health, they call it SHEP, school health education project. They have coordinators all over the district and all over the regions. But how effective are they? We have to work together with them.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Health Service is asking school authorities to provide sick bays in their institutions, adding qualified personnel will be assigned to them.
After we've seen the database of the students, their health database, we also want to make sure that every school, secondary school, has a sick bay. And for that matter, a functional sick bay. If possible, we will connect every secondary school in this country to a health facility. First, Ghana Health Service health facility. For example, Suntreso should be able to look after maybe Prempeh College. We are just across the street. And if I'm in Suntreso and I'm looking after Prempeh College, I will send nurses there who will run around the clock in the sick bay and make sure that every day of the week, there's somebody in the sick bay. And the sick bay, which is a sick bay, proper sick bay with other paracetamol and then things to check malaria. Not that every student who comes there is a malaria. So this is what we are going to do.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, I'm Interior reporting.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're making a few changes to the various segments. Now on to some other local stories here on Joy News Prime. Government has been defending its inability to fulfill its promise of building as many as 51 factories in 2017 under its flagship One District, One Factory policy. At a sword-cutting ceremony for the Kumfi Pineapple factory last year, President Akufo-Addo said new enterprises will be rolled out in 51 districts by the end of the year. But National Coordinator for the One District, One Factory Secretariat, Giftiohini Kwenedu, explains government is prioritizing quality over quantity and it's snail pace in the implementation of the program.
Yes.
That's what the people are expecting.
But you want quality work, don't you? Mm. They want quality. They don't want just anything because I promised One District, One Factory, so I should do shoddy things for Ghanaians. No. We have to do something quality, something that will last for, an appreciable time. Mm. So we will not do things because people are pushing us. That's like recently they said the Ekumfi has become a grounds for grass cutter, whatever, you see, and because of that I worry. No, I don't do things that way. I do things according to my conscience and according to my my own, timelines. You see, because sometimes if you are not careful, it's the opponents who do that. You see, so let's take our time and do something good for Ghanaians. We deliver. If you look at free SHS, for instance. So, you have to be confident.
No, I am confident, yes. But see, my challenge is that it's not guaranteed that the NPP administration will go a second term. So if there are policies in place and the promises being made by the president, should be able to quickly, especially the ones that will transform the economy, should be facilitated as possible, executed as fast as possible.
Yeah, but at the same time, you don't have to do shoddy work. You have to make sure that you are giving Ghanaians the best, you see. So if you think that, moving very fast will mean shoddy something, then take your time and do something worthwhile for the people of Ghana, you see. So that's exactly what we are doing. And we are delivering on our promises, no doubt. So I'm confident that we are going a second term because we will deliver on our promises. No two ways about that. Right.
She's however confident that the 216 factories promised by the government will be built before 2020.
We are confident that we are going again 2020. We are winning 2020 because we will deliver on our promises.
Right. I mean, I'm not disputing the fact that you are going to deliver on your promises because, I mean, the government knows what they are doing. But you have less than 3 years to end the first term. In your view, how many factories should we expect from the government and BP?
We said 216. So expect 216 from us.
Within the first term of the NPP government?
Yes, that's what we said. So expect that from us.
And you can achieve that within less than 3 years?
Yes, we can achieve that. If for the first year we have pushed 69 projects to financial institutions, you don't expect that we'll do more than even the 216.
Because Ghanaians thought that you didn't perform 2017. So when you're making some of these pronouncements,
I'm sure they know that we have performed because they keep coming here. Look at the files here. They are all projects coming from Ghanaians. So they know. And we sit here from 7 a.m. to close to 12 midnight here in this office.
So, Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development, Alhaji Boniface Abubakar Sadiq, has expressed concern about the failure by the Tourism Ministry to harness the huge tourism potential of the Osu Castle where he currently operates. Alhaji Boniface says the tourism industry and the country's foreign exchange earnings will receive a major boost if the ministry relocates to the castle, considering the colonial history of the place. In an interview with Joy News, the minister suggested it is time the tourism ministry takes the smart move by relocating to take advantage of the gold mine that has been left to waste away for decades.
This place, well, we know used to be a seat of government, but then I believe it has outlived its use. The presidency has moved to the Flagstaff House, but preferably, this place could have been used as a Ministry of Tourism. To me, if you know much about tourism, this place could have been used, the history. Castle, You know, apart from that, even if the ministry is not located here, this place could be another avenue to get more money, foreign exchange for this country. You know, tourism is the third foreign exchange earner for the economy. 2, tourism is the only sector that has its products all the time intact after being consumed. You will never lose it. Because if the visitor is coming from abroad just to come and see Osu Castle, and he goes around to see where the Queen slept, or the Queen's room, where the presidency actually was located, and you see the first, second, third president's cars available, and you are shown, you are taken there, and you see them, it becomes a pride for you to go and tell people, oh, when I went to Ghana, I visited the Osu Castle. This is enough, because in some countries, before you have access to such cars, you pay. Even traveling down, the tax you pay at the airport to come and visit these places is enough. It's generating money for the economy. And I believe in future, maybe the Ministry of Tourism will be thinking about all those things. Because this is another mine to make more money for the economy.
So time now for a quick look at our top stories here on Joy News Prime. 3 military officers and a police officer were shot in an apparent ambush by nomadic herdsmen at Agogo in the Ashanti region. The officers are in hospital recovering. The wife of a Lebanese national accused of raping his 19-year-old household wailed in court on Monday over the continuing detention of her husband. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly on Monday embarked on a planned decongestion exercise to rid the streets of hawkers, which many say would come to naught. But the mayor insists he will ensure the exercise is sustained this time round. In business, economists rates as average government's economic performance after 1 year after assuming management of the economy, and urges more emphasis on growth in non-oil sector this year. And the minority in Parliament is demanding an end to the sale of recruitment forms by security agencies, saying Parliament approves funds to pay for such exercises.